I've always been a goal-oriented person. I learned this at university, where I used to set really ambitious targets, and that's what got me to the end of my degree. That's what helped me to graduate successfully. I had a really intense mindset, which even led me to write a book about how running and goal setting helped me to both get through university and also gain the discipline to complete any task even when I didn't have the motivation. But much like with university, I feel like I'm graduating now from a solely goal-oriented mindset, moving on to something more sustainable, more long-term, and overall exponentially more effective. In this video, I'm going to talk about why I've taken a step back from goal setting, and the short answer is I went way too far with it. Instead, I'm focusing on building up good habits and building up systems for success. The concepts in this video are based off the ideas outlined in James Clear's Atomic Habits, which I only read the first chapter, and within 20 pages it was resonating like proper hardcore. It hit me like a train. Very quickly though, my name is Ellis and I'm here talking about personal development for us Zoomers and Millennials in today's complicated social world. If that appeals to you, then do hit the subscribe button for more. But anyway, here's a little bit of me in the hope that you might notice a little bit of you. Since age 19, as a university student, I've always had the fundamental goals of getting the top grades in exams and also running at least one marathon every year. And this worked extremely well for me while I was in university. Having a goal on the horizon during the academic year kept me really focused and dialed into each task. From September to May, I'd be really productive, like without any room for procrastination. It would be pure tunnel vision. And this vigor really picked up in January, when usually a lot of us are suffering from the winter blues, but during January that's when I would start my marathon training, which would last for the next 4 months, and combine that with exam preparation, and I was so dialed in for one specific moment. It was just pure tunnel vision going into the spring when I would run the marathon and also do my exams as well. And in 2020, in my final year of studying, all of these goals that I had set all culminated for a really big finale, where I aimed to get first class honours for my overall degree, and I also ran 5 marathons in 2 months as part of my charity campaign Project Run. It was a mammoth step of ambition. I wanted a first in every single piece of work I did, from dissertation to weekly quiz. This was 4 years of work about to wrap up, and I didn't want to let it slip. I didn't want to let it slip like Steven Gerrard at the end of the 13-14 season. But then, as we know, the Miley Cyrus changed those plans. It's a story for another day, but in the end I got exactly what I wanted. I got the first and also raised a decent bit of money for Mind and the NHS during lockdown, so it's a decent job done. Usually at this point it's goal accomplished. And yeah, there are the post-exams and post-marathon blues, where for a while you, after putting so much tension, so much concentration into one moment, once it's gone, you do feel a little bit lost for a while and a bit down. But then the next goal comes along and you move on to bigger and better things. The next big goal for me was to move to Tokyo and start working. I wanted to establish myself in the company and establish myself with a client, move up the ranks, get JLPTN1, meet abroad in Japan and tell him we both used to live in the same town, and lots of other things as well. It was proper exciting times. But as we know now, Japan said, "Chotto matte geezer, this coronavirus variant is a bit mental, innit?" And then they entered Sakoku too. So I faced an indefinite period of waiting. So I thought, alright, I'm stuck here for a bit. I'll set a goal of another marathon to keep me going. So I set up another 4-month training plan to run a marathon in November, and I'd run it on the same day that I was going to launch my book. However, the training itself was a disaster, a quite pathetic disaster, to be honest with you. By the second week I was struggling to get out of bed to go for my runs, and by the 4th week I was missing quite a few of my runs, and the worst part of all is that I actually didn't care about that. I didn't care about the fact I was missing runs. I just didn't care for the training because it felt really pointless. I knew deep down that I was running to distract myself, running because I wanted another fancy medal, running because I wanted to feel like I was still progressing in life and using my time productively. It was there to give me a bit of validation while I was waiting to start working. I knew I could have run the marathon any time I wanted. I'd already run 5 earlier in the year. I just needed something to fill the void for the next 4 months. Now I might be sounding a bit arrogant here, here, but put it this way, I didn't need the training to do what I was aiming for. No longer was I running for my mental health or productivity, two things that were at the forefront of the book that I was literally about to release. And I felt awful for that. I was really angry at myself. I was living for the sake of the future and not for the present. And that's where the goal hopping concept in my running for 30 days video came from. I was literally going from goal to goal. I went on to run 7 marathons that year and I went mental. I went overboard with it. It was just one big thing to the other, not really living in between. After I'd run the marathon, I was always thinking, right, what's the next big goal? Which in that context is the same as asking, what's the next distraction? I still hadn't started working. I was lying in limbo essentially, and I just felt like I wasn't progressing in life. And I felt really guilty for that. Something had to change. I realise now that things are much simpler when you're immersed in a 4-year university course. Every goal was there to support the bigger picture, which was getting through university with a good grade on my degree. Whatever goal I set, university was always there in the background, legitimising it as the right thing to do. So whatever goal I set, if it was to help me get a good grade at the end of university, then it was the right thing to do, even if I didn't enjoy it that much. To be honest, I didn't really enjoy the educational side of my degree. I realised that much like school, I was just memorising textbooks, and exams had a strong theoretical bias compared to real-world applications, so it felt a bit pointless really. However, the late night studying, the massive pile of flashcards I used to have, and the 12-hour days of just pumping out the essays, they were all there to achieve the goal, so I knew I had to do them and I accepted that. So I got on with it, because I knew that even if I was dissatisfied, discontent, stressed, depressed, whatever, it was all part of the goal and it wouldn't be forever. I mean, by June, once exams are over and everything, I can relax again, do what I want during the summer, and it'll be alright again. I would be allowed to be happy later on. But when you leave the university sphere and you've got your degree and hopefully your job as well, you embark onto a stage of your life which is 10 times larger than anything you've ever experienced before. You embark on an entire career which is gonna last you into old age properly. You're in your working stage of your life now, and that's going to span decades. It's no longer like university where you're holding out for a few months for a really long summer break, because now you're either holding out for an entire year just for a tiny holiday, or you're holding out for decades of your life just so you can retire and live without any sense of obligation. You can't spend that long being unhappy. Throughout university, people would always say to me, Ellis, it's not about the goal, it's all about the journey, man. The journey's the reward in life. And I'd think, shut your noise, calculus and differentiation aren't rewarding in any way, shape or form right now at all. I mean, they were right, but I didn't want them to be. But now it's different. Now it's critical to enjoy the process and the journey in life, the day-to-day ongoings, because that's all we have now. We're on a constant ongoing journey, so you better bloody enjoy it. With this in mind, I picked up some books, watched some Captain Sinbad, and had a paradigm shift. I had a look at my interests and hobbies, and I thought of them in a way that was separate from any goal-related context. The first two things that came to mind were running and Japanese. Without a goal, I run to feel better mentally, and I study Japanese so I can chat with my mates. Now these aren't goals, they're just ongoing processes, they're lifestyles, they're just things I do on my day-to-day business. And above all, the two things that I really enjoy. So I sought to bring the focus back to that aspect. Henceforth, we got the Running Everyday Challenge video, which is going on way beyond the 30 days I originally set to do. And the idea of that was there was no particular end goal, I just wanted to go out and enjoy running again. Like, for goodness sake, just go out and enjoy it, you prick. It's been too long since you've enjoyed a run. Because I knew that I did love running and I wanted to love it again. And I wanted to stop waking up in the mornings and dreading the thought of it. I just wanted to love the sport again, love my hobbies again. And I did the same with Japanese, because I was now free from the shackles of a university syllabus. Once again, studying the language that I love for the people that I love in it, the way that it started. And if I'm to pass JLPTN1 from all this study, then that would be a bonus really. It would be a byproduct, in fact, of a completely new mindset which I'm venturing into. And this mindset is a systems-based approach. Introduced brilliantly in James Clear's Atomic Habits, the idea is that you focus on small marginal improvements every single day, getting 1% better, and in the long run this will lead to exponential gains, exponential explosive improvements. This is where we get the 1% rule, whereby if you improve by 1% every single day for a year, you'll be 37 times better by the end. Success, therefore, isn't an overnight phenomenon. Rather, Clear says that your outcomes are a lagging measure of your habits. Our weight is a lagging measure of our eating habits. Our network is a lagging measure of our financial habits, and our knowledge of our learning habits as well. So basically, you get what you repeat. Clear says that habits are the compound interest of self-improvement, gaining in greater numbers as time goes on. Although they are difficult to maintain in our everyday lives, 1 hour of studying Japanese isn't going to make me fluent straight away, and for a while there's probably going to be no noticeable change. However, on the contrary, if I didn't study at all, and for instance I was to get 1% worse every single day, then by the end of 1 year I would be close to zero. That's just for argument's sake, but the example's more potent when it comes to fitness. If I don't run at all for a year, then my fitness will drop to zero, and perhaps my number of chins will be 37 times greater by the end. That's why for the time being, instead of running 40 miles a week to run a marathon and cramming like mad to be able to do an exam, I'm keeping everything very laid back and easy as possible, to the point where there's just no pressure at all. Most of my runs are slow jogs that don't go any further than 5k. While on some days with Japanese, I just go over all my Anki decks again, just do a little bit of revision. The reason I'm not bothered at the moment about making any big strides is because of a concept by Clear that I really love, which is called the Plateau of Latent Potential. Now, it's easy for us to get frustrated if our progress isn't constant and it's not linear, but in actual fact, we just don't see those improvements coming yet. Tectonic plates can rub together underneath the earth for millions of years, slowly building tension, but nothing will happen until one day they'll rub together like normal and the tension will be so great that it's all going to bloody kick off and we get an earthquake. The idea is success is stored until it explodes onto the surface, to which point everyone starts calling it an overnight miracle, when in reality it's the result of chipping away at a rock enough times until it eventually smashes into two. I like this because I don't need the anxiety of checking whether I'm actually making good use of my time, actually progressing, because one, every little bit helps, even if it's unnoticeable, and two, these are things I love doing, and I'm going to do them anyway, so hell yeah. Systems are the process that guides us to success, while goals are very often purely the results that we want to achieve. Clear says that goals are very useful if you want to have a specific direction to take, but very often if it's just progress you're after, then you can make progress without having to set any goals. If you have good systems, then goals aren't necessary. If you win a race, it's likely the result of your training rather than because you had the goal of winning the race. Because everyone else probably had the same goal too, but it was the difference in their systems which makes the difference. Every candidate wants to get the job, every Olympian wants to win gold, but it's not the goals that makes the difference, it's the systems. This is just one critique of goals that Clear raises, and another one is that with goals we very often only achieve momentary happiness. When you set a goal, it becomes the sole determinant of whether you're a winner or loser in the end, whether you're allowed to be happy if you achieve this very fixed outcome. Not only does this limit the many different ways that you can achieve success, but it also leaves you very depressed and disappointed with yourself if you don't hit that specific goal. It makes the entire process seem like a failure. This links back to what I was saying previously, where I was just putting all of my happiness into one specific outcome further down the line in the future, not in the present, and that outcome could determine whether I was going to be happy or sad at the end of the day. I.e., you can't be happy until you achieve the top grades in your exams, and if not, then your depression must continue. The ultimate advantage of systems is that you love and enjoy the process anyway, so you do it just because you love it. This is why that in any kind of competition, whether it's gaming or in business or whatever, the person who's absolutely obsessed with the actual process, who just loves doing it, they're always going to come out on top. They will always be the winners, because they just do it out of pure love. They're not motivated by anything extrinsic. It all comes from a very intrinsic drive. One more critique I just want to add on quickly is the yo-yo effect, and I've had this so much. When I lined up on the start line for my marathons, I was always in the best physical shape of my life, and likewise with exams, I was always at my most strongest academically. Yet 1 month later, when we're in the summer, my fitness is already dwindling, and I can't remember any of the things I ever revised for. It's all just fallen out at that point, and the progress just disappears. If we're thinking about a more long-term approach for our life in a much bigger world while we're working on our careers, then the systems approach makes more sense. Because instead of trying to win one single momentary game, we continue playing it, and the idea is that we keep playing it, getting better and better each time. To win is to essentially keep playing. I think this is a key thing to bear in mind when you step out of the school bubble into the rest of your life. So this year I'm focusing on building strong and consistent systems for success, running a bit every day, studying a bit every day, and doing a few other things as well. And I'm hoping that a little every day rather than every fibre of my being for 5 months is going to help me avoid feeling burnt out. That said, I'm not binning goals altogether. Don't get the wrong idea, right? Goals are still very important for the sake of direction. I can run every day getting fitter and faster, but if I want to run a marathon, then I've got to actually train for the distance, and this is where an important difference comes in. And before I wrap this up, I want to emphasise that setting goals is still a very important part of progress and development. So once I get these systems in place, I'm going to be marrying them with specific goals for success, and it's going to be absolute fireworks. It's going to be a madness, and I'm very excited for that. But first, let's lay the foundations, yeah? If you're starting out with a personal reset or looking to start working on self-improvement, I think goals are a really good way to start, and the reason is because in a shorter time frame you can start seeing very specific changes, and through that you can learn more about your identity, and you can play around with the sort of person that you want to become, because you start to see very specific goals, and you get that confidence as well that if you take a specific direction, then you do have the power to change your mindset, change your identity, and change your life overall. It's been important to me since I was a teenager, and it's still important now because there's lots of different avenues and paths I want to try in life. So it's always good to set different directions and always experiment. And of course, if you're still in university, then I really do recommend setting goals. It might feel like long term when you're in it for 4 years, but in reality it's a 4-year sprint if you really want those honours. If you plan right and work smart, you can achieve huge things through goal setting. And again, it's one of the main reasons why I managed to get through university in the end. I'll do a video on it one day, but do consider checking out my book, which is about how I combined running and goal setting to create spillover effects, which took me from being bottom of the class to first class honours. So go check it out. It's on Amazon. Link is in the description below. But for 2021, the first year of the rest of my life, I'm just planning on building up strong habits which are going to last into the long term, and then I'll be able to start setting those goals so we can work in a very positive direction. So far, I'm quite content with it. I mean, ever since I started this idea, we're coming up to almost 100 days now, and it's just nice to be able to progress forward without any of the anxiety if I'm making those big leaps, if I'm making any noticeable changes. It's good to not have to worry about that. And I'm finally starting to enjoy my runs again, which makes all the difference, because I know this is such an important part to me, and I hated the fact that I was just so eager to get it out the way and just do it for the sake of doing it. To actually enjoy going out there, it makes a big difference, and I'm glad I'm sorting that out. The good thing is I can go out and I can do a mile, and that's still successful. Like before, if I just went out and did a mile, I'd be quite angry at myself because it's like only a mile. But a mile is more than zero. It's something, and it's part of the process that is going to build up, and it's eventually going to give exponential gains further down the line. And at the end of the day, I've shown up. Like on those mornings where I wake up and I'm not feeling at my best, I just think to myself, do it for the discipline. Do it for the discipline, and then once you build that kind of resolute attitude, it becomes easier to get yourself out of bed, even when it feels hard to. I know that's a difficult thing to say, but you're building up your willpower. It's very important in the mental health aspect. It's all a work in progress at the end of the day. Now, if you've made it long on this video, then you are an absolute legend. I actually can't believe people have watched this far. Honestly, I really appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind as one last favour of leaving a like and hitting the subscribe button, then that would be absolutely unbelievable. I really appreciate it. But that's why I'm taking a step back from setting goals this year and starting fresh again. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope this video has been informative to you. Let me know what you think in the comments below. More videos available to watch here if you're up for it. But if not, I'll see you when I see you. Take care, guys. Cheers.